So as you enter the church, on the left-hand side, these were the holy men, what he called the holy men. And on the other side here, these were the challengers, the questioners. And he loved to, to pit them together. There were elements in the lives of all of these people that he wanted his students to study and to imitate. This is our little church, and it is dedicated to Father Murray's favorite saint. His favorite saint was St. Augustine of Hippo.
If you look at Laval, it says Canada and Laval. Laval was sent over, and that's when the French really said we're going to take a real interest in Canada. I know when and he tried to make sure that the work with the First Nations was done justly, and not only that, he actually threatened to excommunicate the fur traders that brought liquor. He's the first rector of a university in Canada, and Athamurray went to Laval as well. So in any case, he was prominent. Athamurray went to Laval.
Yeah, and he was the first bishop of Canada.
Of Canada, yes, as well.
Yeah, the bishop of Quebec. Leo XIII is a most interesting man. He came to the throne of Peter. He became pope just at the height of the Industrial Revolution. And what is so fascinating about Leo is he brought the light of the gospel to that particular situation. He talked about labor unions and about freedom and about all kinds of things that we take for granted today, but we're not there at all. The dignity of human beings, the dignity of work, again, on the basis of the church.
So here we have Mercier and Chesterton. And Mercier has a connection to Leo XIII because they were trying to meet the practical ideas of the Industrial Revolution. Mercier was looking at the intellectual side of it. How do we handle the intellectual side? Because this was the time of Darwin and other, they would call positivists, ones that said there was no truth outside of scientific fact. Chesterton, of course, was a writer, an English writer, a convert as well. He was prominent during the First World War, and of course he went after Hitler right from the beginning for his racism. Yeah, interesting character. I mean, two of his great books, I guess, The Everlasting Man and Orthodoxy were two of his. Yeah. And so he was really pointing back, you do need a center for intellectual thought. Mm-hmm. And he was pointing back to the church as that center. Yeah. All the particular scholars that we meet from this point on really followed including Chesterton, followed the Industrial Revolution. And how do we meet the fact that we're losing our sense of moral direction? And Belloc, of course, he was a historian. He was born in France. He came to Europe, he got elected to Parliament, and he pointed out that Europe is really centered in the Christian faith and philosophy. And so he brought that association into a real depth. And Jacques Maritain, from France, well educated, he took Thomism to a different level. The skepticism of the philosophical world that was rampant in France and also in Western Europe. And Thomism was the answer. Through conversation and work and effort, come to the truth of how you should live. Yeah, the English tradition was really important in bringing the Catholic philosophical part of its faith up to snuff. And Ronald Knox was more a part of it with the Bible.
And he translated the Bible from the original, from Latin, into an English that was, acceptable to people. People could understand it, so you could read the Bible and get something out of it. So that was very important.
Gilson, on the other hand, another French scholar,
Thomist,
a Thomist as well, and he and Maritain had a similar approach. They both used Thomism as their base. He fought in the First World War, was captured, and lived he was in a concentration camp in Germany for 3 years. And while he was there, he took up medieval history. It led to him writing a biography of Thomas Aquinas, St. Boniface, St. Anselm, and St. Benedict. He wrote 5 biographies from the Middle Ages. The other one I have right here is The Terrors of the Year 2000, which I've had this since 1964. And you see it now with facial recognition. Our final windows deal with Henry Carr and Christopher Dawson. But I knew Henry Carr, I knew him personally, because he was out at St. Mark's College. At St. Mark's, what you don't know about Henry Carr is he started the hockey program at St. Michael's College.
Yeah, so you can see the affinity between him and Father Murray, and why this window would be here for sure.
Yes.
Both the intellectual and the sports, and I mean, it all makes sense, yeah.
In any case, he started these colleges right across Canada, and he had a personality that he was able to engage people. Dawson, he was the one who suggested, do you know much about Dawson?
Not a huge amount. I know he really kind of was a combative guy, again, with the culture, with the science, and all these things, you know, that were becoming very positivistic, to see something deeper in all of that. Yeah.
So he was a great European historian, and so that's how I got to know all these people. I was a hockey coach, you know. I wasn't a hockey player, I wasn't a scholar, but I knew how important they were in setting the ground for a philosophical approach to how we ought to live. And so this is the legacy Athol Murray wanted to leave, and really it's needed more today than it was in even Athol Murray's time. I think to keep the conversation going, to keep the liberal arts going, to make good people before you train good technicians is really essential, and that's the whole part of a liberal arts education.